So I want to start with something John McCain said in 2012. And the reason I'm bringing it up then is you were fully engaged in all of these issues back then. He said this. It was right after the 2013 Defense Authorization Act. And he said, I believe that cyber warfare will be the key battlefield of the 21st century, and I am concerned about our ability to fight and win in this new domain. I'm very concerned that our strategy is too reliant on defensive measures in cyberspace and believe we need to develop the capability to go on the offense as well. This was John McCain, June 4th, 2012. This debate was a debate in the Obama administration that you were a part of. Walk us through it, and where are you on this issue?
Well, I very much consider what's been happening to be a national security threat. When you talk about taking down our basic infrastructure, a major pipeline, providing fuel to the East Coast, our meat processing operations, our transportation systems, it raises my greatest fear about what could happen with a cyber attack. And it goes back to when I was secretary. Iran used something called the Shamoon virus, which they deployed against Aramco Oil in Saudi Arabia and destroyed 30,000 computers. You take that same kind of virus and use it in this country, you could take down our electric grid, our transportation, our financial systems. You could virtually paralyze the country. So it is important to treat it as a national security threat, and I think that's what's going on today.
All right, so let's walk you through that. So it's a national security threat. What would then be the difference between a terror network like AQAP and these cyber hackers that Russia essentially gives sort of protection to? Is there a distinction between these type of groups right now?
Listen, from my point of view, they're terrorists. When they come at us with ransomware, even though they're a criminal operation, they're operating out of Russia, and they are going after some very important infrastructure in this country. And yeah, they're doing it for money, but it is weakening the United States every time this infrastructure gets impacted. Don't forget, this ransomware attack is going after hospitals, it's going after transportation systems, it's going after a vast array of areas and costing about $6 trillion in ransom payments. So from my point of view, I think the Justice Department yesterday said they're going to start treating this not as criminals, but as terrorists. And I think that's the right decision.
OK, that means Russia is a safe haven. When we identified Afghanistan as a safe haven, we know what happened. OK, but the point is, what is the line here? Because it seems to me that when it comes to cyber offense, the United States does believe they do things with a set of values, right? We don't want to punish the Russian citizens for the actions of the Russian leaders, right? We always take that into account. Can you be on cyber offense that punishes Putin without punishing the Russian people? And are we willing to do something that might punish the Russian people, too?
Well, look, we've got some pretty smart people operating this technology for the United States. And in the past, when I was there, we certainly developed not only good defenses to try to deal with these attacks. I mean, when I was CIA director, I was told we were getting 100,000 cyber attacks a day. So you can imagine how.
And when were you CIA director? I was just going to say, let's remind people that was about 9 years ago, right? I mean, no, I don't mean, but that's the point. What is it today? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I'm sure it's multiplied 1,000 times over. And so it really constitutes, a real threat when that takes place. So the real question now is to develop not only good defenses, but good offenses as well. That's what we did then, and I'm sure that's what's happening today. And you can target these offenses in a way that don't necessarily have to impact on people, but can impact on businesses, can impact on the government, and send a signal to Russia, very frankly, that if you're going to continue to play this kind of game, you're going to have to pay a price. That signal needs to be sent.
All right. I got to ask you about UFOs. The truth is out there. The question I have is, we've been reading a lot about a lot of these. It's mostly been observations of from Navy personnel. Look, Occam's razor this for me. When you've seen this unidentifiable stuff, is your presumption that it is a China or a Russia testing some some crazy technology that we somehow don't have? Or are we sort of over assuming the abilities of China and Russia, and that the only other explanation is, if it is not us ourselves, that it's something otherworldly?
Well, Chuck, it's obviously been going on for a long time, and there's a lot of speculation. I've never seen any evidence that any of this is related to extraterrestrial human beings or beings of any kind. And for that reason, I've always thought that even though we have these sightings, and I guess the report that's coming out is going to basically acknowledge that there are a lot of sightings. They haven't tied it to being UFOs in the sense of relating it to enemies in space.
Sure.
But I believe a lot of this stuff probably could be countries like Russia, like China, like others who are, using now drones, using the kind of sophisticated weaponry that, could very well be involved in a lot of these sightings. So I think that's the area to go to, very frankly, in order to identify what's happening.
More importantly, it sounds like you think that you should exhaust that that hypothesis first before you start dealing with any of the other hypotheses.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I think the reality is we know what some of these capabilities are from our adversaries. We've seen what they're capable of doing. I think because they are adversaries, it's much more logical to me to believe that they're trying every way possible to be able to gather the kind of intelligence that would help them in terms of developing their approach to how they deal with the United States. I think that's the better approach to take right now.
Well, I have to say, though, the Chinese can't even control their space junk. So part of me wants to question some of that. Anyway, Leon Panetta, it's always a pleasure to get your perspective on these important issues. Thank you, sir.
Good to be with you, Chuck.